Good evening. Can you hear me?
Can, John, can you hear us?
I can.
Good. We're going to call this meeting to order at 7:33. We'll do a roll call and we start with
Wayne Reynolds, Joseph Adeletta, Dean Gould,
David Morse,
Aaron Farmer,
no Fuller.
John Day.
Okay, designation of alternates, jeez. So it looks like we'll designate Dwight and John today. Anybody else?
Doke.
Okay, and then we'll proceed with the Pledge of Allegiance.
the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank everybody for being here. And it's only what, 2 days till the first day of the year, and things start to get better. As far as I'm concerned, short days ago. Any citizens' comments on anything we're not going to discuss later tonight? Okay. We have some minutes. December 5th.
Your motion to approve the minutes as presented.
We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'm gonna.
Dwight and Joe.
No, me.
Oh, Dean, I'm sorry. Start.
I'm abstaining too.
Oh, you're, okay.
Yeah, we're.
Okay, so Dean, Dwight, and Joe Wood. Good. That's out of the way. New business, planning and zoning committee budget discussion, that letter in the, thing that I actually packets. Packets.
Is that online? I can pull it up.
Don't think it's on.
I have to send it to you. Just be on the town website.
Does everybody have it
for,
in their,
big information for you.
For right now.
okay. Did everybody get it in their packet?
Yeah. Yep.
Do you have it, John, the budget letter?
I do.
Um,
So, I looked at that and I was kind of hurt because it was like, please include a statement of what you plan to accomplish in the coming year and benefits the town receives from our activities and service. I actually went to talk to Chandler about it. As why do we have to actually justify our existence? We're performing town services, and he was basically just kind of like, submit your budget. I think his recommendation was to submit what we did last year or what our costs were for last year, which is like just around $2,500, 2475, I think.
Yeah.
If you look in the thing. So I suppose we just submit that 2475, or maybe just go to 2500 as our budget. And go from there. I think if we, the lawyer, if we need to call on the town attorney, if that comes under land use regulations, not under our budget. So basically, our budget is printing and notices and stuff, and that, I think it's paid back by,
No, it's
no, it doesn't.
Mm.
Oh, it's part of the fee.
you.
Okay. So, not knowing of anything big coming up, we're just gonna propose that we just keep the budget at $2,500 and submit that to yeah, put on. No, it says, this is from the channel, but yeah, we'll submit it to Karen. Is that anybody on the committee have anything different or any other idea?
Perhaps at a later meeting, we might just spend a few minutes talking about how other expenses are covered for new members of the commission. Like how is NECA covered, legal fees, our CEO is under the land use office, not under the PZC line item budget, a few things like that, so that we remember or we're reminded of
Yeah, and
how
actually,
some of the costs are, but that doesn't have to be tonight.
no, because I actually need to, have to review some of that.
And I wanted to ask Delia, I thought I heard you just say that some of the printing notices are part of the applicant's fees.
If it's a legal notice related to an application, there's
Yeah.
a fee that's supposed to be charged to the applicant.
Okay, so that would
That makes
explain.
sense.
I had a question on the budget, which doesn't show that we spent anything so far, at least on this,
We haven't had a lot of applications lately, and any legal notices that the commission does, say for the PWCD or for text amendments.
Yes.
You don't charge anyone a fee for that, because it's their own projects, so they don't have to come out of your own budget. When it's PWCD related, it should come out of the PWCD budget.
And on page 4, on
Yeah.
P and Z, it has notices, printing, news and conferences, and
Right.
books and periodicals.
right,
So that was used. At the balance left. Percent, that's,
it just shows under that, count number, there's been no money spent by fees,
yeah, it's,
which is okay.
Yeah.
Just, if things
we'll
are
just use that
reimbursed by
number and
us.
say, do it again, and
So I'm okay with the, budget this year to be the same as last year.
okay.
The P and Z staff budget seems kind of low.
Yeah, well,
That's for the commission.
yeah, we can double our salary.
Right.
Yeah,
So you mentioned 2,500 and
Yeah.
someone said the same, was it 25 or what was the amount?
2,500, just to make it.
Okay, but someone just mentioned the same, I just wanna make sure we're on the same page when we make a motion.
Which is a little higher than this year's thought, but that's fine.
So do we need a motion for that? Yes.
I think,
Do we have a motion?
yeah, I'll make a motion that we, the P and Z, budget line item be increased to $2,500.
Okay. Most good. Okay, any more discussion? John, you all set with that?
All set, yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. Okay. I'll have to figure out how we.
All you need is a letter and minute with the motion.
Okay. Sounds good. We have a preliminary discussion about the 9171 wireless telecommunications tower.
And actually, there are two that we received.
Yes.
They're both proposed by the same entity, the Towers LLC. They're using two different legal firms to represent the different applications. So you have your cover letter for these, in your packets. What they're proposing, I think 150-foot monopole at 90 Route 171, which is Chase lumber. And Christmas barn. The other location.
How tall is that tower?
Another 150 foot.
So this is like step one of, they've notified us that they're gonna be working on an application with the State Siting Council. One step in the process, is them meeting with the chief executive of the town. That hasn't occurred yet. Another process is public information meeting. And we've been in contact with the applicant and these two legal firms to pin down a date for that. That works for staff and the legal firms and the applicant. And that is our February 20th PZC meeting. I wanted to try to get it in on an existing meeting. These types of applications are usually, these discussions are usually heard at a PZC meeting or a first selectmen's meeting. I wanted to make sure that we kept with a regular meeting date so people would be well aware. Sure.
We have time to notice it.
Yep.
They're gonna take-
They take care of notice.
Just gotta,
You only have one listed on the agenda, if you can make a motion.
So we need a motion to add the other tower to the agenda.
That is 835 Route 169.
Do I hear a motion that
I'll move to add this additional item to the agenda for the second cell phone tower located at 835 Route 169. Second.
give a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on adding that to the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
So over the next couple months, form your individual questions about the project. Pass this along to the Wetlands and Zoning Board of Appeals. And they're starting to filter comments into me. Anybody who's interested in it, you have somewhat of a voice. The State Siting Council ultimately has control over the project and doesn't let us do things, but I think if we didn't submit anything, the State Siting Council would just stamp it a lot faster. I think if we provide input, we could kind of customize this project a little bit.
Do you know where on the properties the towers can be set?
That probably be buried in the technical report. The PDF of this for each of those is on the PZC webpage, the sidebar. It's a bit heavy to share. I can send you a Dropbox link. Perfect.
So. Both of them in there, I only saw one of them,
Yeah,
but they're two different reports, but I read one report, but I didn't see two names.
so on the town website, in the sidebar menu item, it says the Towers LLC cell phone tower project. I don't think you could fit both of the PDFs onto that one meeting page.
So
If you can call up the PCC page, okay, yeah, it's takes a while to load up. It's pretty graphic intensive. There's maps of their coverage. A lot of technical specifications. I have one copy of one and two copies of another if people want to read a physical version. I just don't wanna lose the one we have to Chase, because that's the only one I have presently.
So does it show it on here, or can you just give us like the verbiage
Yeah.
document for the site,
Oh,
front of it, back of it?
appears to be the existing driveway and the current structure Chase. This is.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
off to the,
Southeast of the driveway,
so to the left as you're going,
yeah,
so the back from the road.
and wetlands is interested in this too. It's adjacent to an area of federally listed species and critical habitat. I think one of these site plans has a delineation represented.
Trying to get to the map that shows like the site layout. Just a few pages down.
As part of this process, do you know if they will fly a balloon to the 150-foot height at both of these locations as done in the past, or is that something the town has to request?
I think the town could and should request that. I'm not sure if that's a level.
Yeah.
It is. But Dan, I wanted to mention on the date we set for the February 20 public hearing.
Yes.
We may want to get a confirmation in writing from Cutter and Feder, because in their letter, they say they need to have information before February.
Yeah, we were initially bouncing earlier dates to them.
Yeah.
January 6th, or I'm sorry, our first meeting in January, I think it's the 2nd, and then the 16th. One firm was gonna be out of the country, one representative of the firm was gonna be out of the country. Neely is gonna be out one day, I'm gonna be out another. We kept reaching out for dates, and ultimately, they mentioned that it is not a hard requirement to meet that January 10th date. That was my initial, I'm sorry, February 10th date, that was my initial concern. But we do have them in agreement for the second February meeting for us
In writing.
in email.
Okay, as long as
yeah.
there's something documented other than verbal.
Do you think like it's part of any kind of formal documentation that we should ask them in a letter?
I had an email from Kenneth Baldwin about he's from Robinson Toll about the February 20th. But I don't remember hearing back from the attorney for the other one,
There's,
so we have to double check.
yeah, there's been a lot of back and forth correspond, kind of filled the inbox. I can forward you the one from Cuddy and Better.
So what's showing on the screen, this is like the layout for the one at Chase Lumber, I think. Am I reading the wrong one?
That's Chase.
Right, so this is the Chase Lumber one.
Yes.
So the big square is the Chase Lumber building, and this shaded area showing how they're gonna access the cell tower location, which will be in the crosshatch area, not that far away from the building. Just isn't very dark, so it's hard to show.
And that's wetlands. Right?
There's some more maps that show that.
Slow ones.
It's adjacent to,
Will both of these be on the website, the PDF?
yeah, they're both on the website presently, on the planning and zoning page, that blue sidebar.
Yep.
Menu.
You know where the Christmas farm is gonna be?
No, not offhand. I know they did reference a few existing wetlands crossings that they'd be going over, so I'm thinking it's behind.
I think it's like 800 feet back off the road.
I think it's probably about 900.
We only saw this
Okay.
report, I didn't see the other one, but this one tells you how many feet it is off the boundary lines and how many feet it is to the adjoining neighbors' houses and all that kind of detail.
Yeah.
But there should be
I'm
another
just curious.
similar report for the other cell tower, I just didn't see it.
That's. that-
Yeah, the report for the other
As far as the
one is
parcel line
pretty
over
much the same.
Yeah, it's 930 feet.
930 feet off,
It's
169.
That's the.
In the midst of farm fields.
Well, it's out of the field, it's in kind of scrub there. Back where they had the motorcycle track.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I was wondering what all that
They were,
traffic pattern was on the aerial photo.
yeah, they were running dirt bikes back there for.
Oh,
So. This is just a preliminary discussion, so do we have to, there's nothing we have to do, other than- can we make, have them fly balloons from those?
I think, that's gonna be, it makes sense to have another meeting with a foot on the preliminary discussion header for internal conversation about that. To come up with a list of, recommendations.
I think we want to send them, if you wanted them to do it, we should let them know. Like tomorrow, maybe they can have it done for the February meeting, they show pictures of what it looks like, and they show you on a map where they were standing when they took the picture. So you can gauge what it would look like, and they put the balloon up as high as it's supposed to be for the cell tower.
Okay, leave it up for a few days, we can see it.
Yeah, I
Leave it up
think
for-
so.
Be good.
So do we have to have a public hearing on this, or is it just a public meeting?
Well, it's the siting council's purview, and it's the moment to have this public information meeting. So if you wanted a public hearing, you might be able to ask for one, but you're not gonna do a special permit on it.
No, no, I was just, I wanted to, what the requirement was just a public meeting, or public hearing, official public. hearing. So they just wanna have it so we can announce it.
I think their information meeting is kind of like the hearing, but in the past, the siting council has their own meeting. So for very controversial ones, I think other people might show up to those meetings and never been to those.
Because I did check the state statutes on that, you have input, but I don't know. It Says we can. Have another public property nearby, better.
That is an option. The municipality can propose other locations, including town-owned property as an alternative. I brought this up with Chan, and he's, I think, thinking about it. And running it by Rich Roberts. I think one particular property that could use upgrade is the middle school. I think you mentioned that there's a tower that's already installed there. I think that location splits the difference between the two proposed poles location. But that's kind of a decision for the selectmen.
So.
Yeah.
Can we pose questions, or maybe now as part of the preliminary hearing, for the attorneys to address questions of whether other poles are fully utilized, and are these necessary for either expanded usage or better coverage?
I think it makes sense to start writing those questions down. The question is, do you want to submit them piecemeal or in a batch?
Collect them all, and as soon as you can, then we can send it to them, so they have time to prepare.
Okay, so put that up. When's our next meeting?
I'm hoping
Question,
Second, we can move to January 9th. I'm gonna take next week off, so I don't have time to prepare anything for the second.
Yeah. Yeah.
how many towers do they already have in town?
That's on this map, which is. I don't know which page it tells you that.
I think I saw two, but Are there more than two? Yeah, one in Woodstock Valley and one in North Woodstock, maybe?
Are they both gonna be the same company?
Oh, there's a whole bunch of.
Yeah, there's a bunch of.
No,
I
one
can
of
think, I can think of probably 8.
one's Verizon and one's cell phone.
Well, yeah, I don't know who owns it.
There, it's both the Towers LLC. This is, one's a joint venture between Vertical Bridge, REIT LLC, Celco Partnership doing business as Verizon. Yeah, they're both kind of the same joint venture. The other is also Bridge REIT LLC, Celco Partnership doing business as Verizon. So,
Yeah, they all put each other's antennas on.
yeah.
So this map is showing the existing wireless facilities with the black square, with the proposed is the blue square. So you have 2 existing showing on the map here at Fairgrounds and Connecticut Freelo. You know exactly what that one is. And they're proposing this one over here by Chief. Since this report that we're looking at is about the Chase Lumber one, I don't think it's gonna necessarily show very much detail relevant to the other site. They haven't seen that report. But there's many different versions of a map very similar to this, where they have this blue and green. So here's another one. And if I zoom out to check what the different titles are, I'm afraid everyone's gonna get motion sickness from zooming in and zooming out and moving the screen all over, but you can access these reports online, and then you write up your questions and send them to us as soon as you can. Or bring them to the next meeting, and then we'll put them together and send it to the company.
So am I able to raise my hand here? Can you guys hear me or?
We can hear you clearly. Just speak up if you have something to say, John, because I am not.
Okay.
The screen is.
So I have some really basic questions about this. So how does this whole thing work? Do they lease the land or are they gonna buy the land? And what is sort of the economic principle behind all this? I mean, is this an investment for a group of investors? Is it owned by the cell companies? Is it a private venture that's gonna then rent out the tower to cell phone companies? I guess I don't really understand the basics of how this particular cell phone tower business works.
They rent the land, they'll use the land and they'll have a long-term lease, I believe, and they pay
Yep.
rent to the landowner.
Okay,
Then
and
they
that's true of, so all companies are gonna be using this, like Sprint and I mean, all the cell phone companies? Or
No.
is it just Verizon or?
I can answer a little bit of
Go
that.
ahead.
It'll start off with whatever's listed on this, and then. As time goes on, if they need more antennas or whatever, they have to re-up the lease with the property owner.
Yep,
So say like if it had 10 antennas on it and they wanna add 5 more. And the property owner doesn't want them to add 5 more, they won't be able to. And they have to renew the lease if they do it.
And there can be other carriers other than.
Correct.
Yeah, it could be Sprint and AT&T.
But right now, it's just this vertical bridge
Right.
and Celco or Verizon.
so is the presumption here that the existing cell towers are filled up and that's why they need to build this, or?
That's a question I think we would like to ask,
Yeah, that's
John.
a good question to ask.
And so they can tell us anything they want to, and do we have any recourse to actually figure out whether or not what they're telling us is correct?
What's your specific question?
Well, so why do they actually need these towers now? I mean, are there,
That, this proposed power facility will provide reliable wireless services to the southeastern portion of northwestern Woodstock, southeastern portion of northwestern Woodstock. Yeah, well, but, the southeastern portion of Woodstock, along with portions of nearby Concord, Putnam.
It's because there's not good service.
There's not good service.
I
when you
mean,
drive down through there.
yeah,
Drive down and you know, you only have one bar, if that, through there.
okay,
And then, I'm sure that's probably what the other one is too.
yeah, they're essentially filling holes between other towers.
okay. So in other words, there's been a demonstrated need for this. Is that kind of the understanding, or?
They provide reports, such as, what Delia is showing on there that demonstrate, if you can understand it, their coverage.
So they have a map that shows the proposed new coverage.
Okay,
A lot of maps. Keep track of it, because I have to go to the
Yeah.
people and go to the map, but don't get sick on me and I'll move back and forth to the maps and show you.
There's got to
Okay.
be some.
comprendo.
Thinking,
So this map is showing the existing Verizon wireless 700 megahertz coverage. And so the green is the existing, and I can't read it that small, 85 for vehicles, I'm sorry, 95 for vehicle, and the blue is 85 in buildings. And then each of the maps are a little different. But I believe green is for vehicles and blue is for buildings.
Okay,
And in the first paragraph of the Robinson and Cole facility lawyers, which is the facility on behind the Christmas barn on 169, it says improved wireless service to its customers along portions of Route 169, Wilson Park Road, and local roads in the vicinity of the property. I mean, there's almost no service on Wilson Park Road.
No, Rosen Park's dead, Peter's dead.
And then it says that the facility will also interact with Selco's existing Cody Hill, Woodstock, Connecticut, East Woodstock, Connecticut, Quinnebog, and Woodstock Fairground cell sites. So I think maybe the East Woodstock one is the one up on Prospect. On Richard's property,
I assume that's the East Woodstock.
maybe. I don't know of any other one.
I know that's a Verizon.
I don't know what network it's in.
Well, that's on,
Yeah. I know East Woodstock doesn't have.
no, I can't.
Where does it say that weird thing about? the-
Northwest, Southwest, and that's on
Which document is it in?
this one, the Huntington Cutter is better. Right here, south, east. And west.
There are towers right now, they just have
So if you guys want to take a look at this, perhaps online, and then collect all your questions, you can email them to me or Dan, and bring them to the next meeting, and then we'll can discuss them, and then we'll put them all together and send it to them so they have time to prepare and they can answer your questions at the February 20th meeting.
and if you want to look at the paper plans, feel free to stop by the office. We do have a holiday closure next week. Town hall closes at noon on Tuesday and it's closed for Christmas Day on Wednesday.
You do the same thing for.
And
New
the
Year's
same
Eve?
thing for the New Year's week too. So Monday, Thursday. Or also Tuesdays and.
So. We guess we're done with that preliminary discussion. We can move on. Do we want to do the, change the meeting date for January now? Do we need to add that to the agenda, or can we do that? Maybe, do you know if we need to add it to the agenda, or can we just change that?
It came up in discussion, if you do it, want to do it in my office or.
Okay. It just came up and then while we're discussing.
At least the citizens comments at the end, that'd be a great place to do it.
Just wanted to.
Yeah.
Should we do things correctly? Okay, so that brings us up to the POCD update, continued conversations.
Want to try doing the same presentation, but on a PDF, maybe it'll work better this time. So has anyone had a chance to review the state plan, and do you have any comments you want me to send to the state? If not, I don't need to bring it up again, I just wanted to give you a chance to read it.
Was trying to understand that locational guide map. And for Woodstock, it showed highlighted areas, South Woodstock and East Woodstock.
Yeah, there's some green
Rural
areas in there.
center.
I'm not sure what they were showing.
Yeah. And it's not something, well, maybe you can follow it up for broader discussion. But they did define rural color that they were using, what rural meant versus higher density urban.
They just had a lot of broad ideas. They didn't have any,
Yeah.
any specifics. I mean, like, you know, sustainable, like, just vibrant, resilient. I mean, that's,
Their guiding principles,
yeah,
values.
you know, and just like, you know, they think like the visions and thriving economy, and housing, current future, and kind of more affordable housing. But I mean, it doesn't. I didn't see much specific, many specifics in there. Or like, this is what we can do. It's just general.
Is there which section you want me to go to, and I can show it, I want to do that,
And there it is, the draft locational guide map.
this one?
Yeah,
Draft
Keep
plan?
going down lower.
The draft plan is what I was.
Oh, all right.
And then I had the definition, I had the maps in it.
Do you want to look at text, or you want to look at the map?
Let's look at the map first. You brought that up.
And go a little higher, that defines a little. Oh, did I get a little more? So the rural is a definition that's used and for different areas in the state of Connecticut are highlighted with different colors representing those rural suburban areas. And in Woodstock, there were only 2 spots that I saw that were highlighted in the yellow, indicating a rural cluster. Good. Interesting.
But just seems like once again, the rural areas, of the state are kind of left out of that.
So should we go and look at the map now? Or should we go look at the text one?
No, let's look at the map. Text. It's like. The only yellow parts, the 169 corridor. Down south of the stock. It's like eastwood stock. Not sure even that.
I thought Southwest that would be more. Because you have a lot of business there.
We do for Woodstock, but not compared to what they're looking at.
Right, but
They're-
when we're looking at Woodstock, that's, well, we're not comparing Woodstock to,
No, but they are.
but I'm wondering what's over here. Is it just,
That's like East Woodstock Village. It's all
Yeah,
I can
it'd
figure
be
out.
like the
Yeah,
post office, the
The post
church,
office, church, common,
the library.
Rogers?
and Rogers. Maybe that's
Right.
Rogers.
It's all kind of clustered in pretty tight spots. I don't know if maybe that's what it is.
Yeah. It's interesting, you know, some of the planners and, well, was, yeah, this was a state plan outcome, right? Not just sneak
Right, VCOG didn't do this.
right, this is the state.
Yeah, there's Brunhan's and Rogers. But that's it for businesses there. Really, some office. Does that goes up to the Stock Hill, right?
Yeah,
So it's gonna take the Stock Hill down south of the Stock.
So it's clustered. Makes some sense.
Yeah, those are the two clusters.
And just look at these, if the state highlights it, it may mean something later on when the state does a broader planning concept that areas marked with certain colors should get certain attention. So,
I just think the yellow should connect to Putnam, I would think, because you have quite a few businesses and you have the sewer district over there and.
yeah,
Seems like if you're gonna color those things in your rural village or whatever it's called, I'm thinking connected to Putnam because. There's all those other businesses in the sewer district is over there.
Or maybe it's not businesses, maybe it's like community.
Yeah.
You have the post office, the church, the library, all in East Woodstock, you know what I mean? And then in that area of Woodstock, that you highlight, you have all the schools, the park, you have a post office. It could be more like a community cluster than a business.
And it looks like you even go up far enough to include the main
Which
stuff.
funding is gonna be
Right.
located in more developed areas than the biggest sewer areas.
I'm not arguing, I'm just telling you what I see.
I'm just saying that if the funding is, the decisions are made based on this. I would think it shouldn't be the sewer district.
and the only other comment I would make on the state plan in one of the reports is a long checklist. Trying to highlight all those, the resiliency, the sustainability, the equity. Against the different areas of what shouldn't be. Changed, and certainly there was one that said prime soil farmland, and. That was an area that should be protected or not developed. So I was
So did you think
happy
it
to
was
see that.
right or wrong on the list?
I'm sorry,
Did you think it was listed right or wrong?
no, I thought that was correctly done.
So do you wanna send any questions or should we move on?
Great.
So I put together 3 surveys, one of them is for boards and commissions. Did you all do your survey? And if you know of any other board or commission member, let them know. I have, last time I checked, I think it was maybe 15 more respondents to the board and commission survey. I think I had 13 or something of the ag business survey, but I haven't had anybody respond to the non-farm business survey. So I sent it out multiple times. I wanted the deadline to be by January 3rd. Trying to give enough time. But can't let it go on forever, because I'm gonna have to get all this information and put it all together.
Are the home occupation businesses part of that farming? permit?
Yeah, I don't have a way to mail it to all the businesses, but I asked town to share it with the businesses that they know of. I asked the business association and the economic development commission, to share it with all the businesses.
So if you go to the main website, where do I find those?
I asked them to put this.
They're not on the website yet.
They told me that I had to wait because they had too many news items or something on the website, so they're supposed to be doing it soon, but I can send them a reminder. I didn't know there was a limit to how much news they have on there.
Did you email us?
I have, pretty sure I did, but I can do it again.
There's a survey you sent out a few months ago, I think, set this one,
No, that was the general.
general survey, okay. Yeah, this is a new one, would you please send it out again? I'll later see it.
I'm gonna be screwed the answer somehow.
Send it again. I have not been able to print these yet, but how many people want paper copies? And how many would you rather just look at them online?
Paper.
I'll have a paper copy.
Paper for me.
Same for me, Delia.
Somebody don't want enough paper? That's a shorter list.
Aaron, you said yes, right? So that's
Everybody. Yeah.
Did you say yes, Steve? Well, I'm off next week, so guess it'll be a little bit before we get to that.
Any chance we could get the state rep as well? Or is that too much?
I'm not sure how long that is, but there's
70
really-
pages.
75 pages.
paper to-
A lot of-
Thanks.
Increase the budget line item to 3,500.
We haven't spent anything on printing yet.
Yeah, right. Good point.
So I reached out to each of these board or commissions. So I asked them to do the general board and commission survey, but then I also had an extra list of questions tailored to what they do. And we've heard back from the housing authority, and one member of the commission on aging has sent me some comment. But I'm waiting to hear back from everybody else. Do you know when the wetlands commission will be sending their comments?
I know they met last Thursday, and I think they're meeting one more time to finalize their thoughts.
Okay,
I'll probably have that at after the January 6th.
you have the meeting or your meeting, okay. I'm still putting together the results of that general survey. There was a lot of written comments, so I'm categorizing them. And I'm not quite done with it yet. And when I hear back from all those, the 2 or 3 new surveys and all the outreach from the boards and commissions, I might need to not have a meeting for a month so I can put all that stuff together. And then I have to start drafting the actual document. And when I have a draft, I'll be sharing it with you, and then we'll have a public hearing. But it looks like we're probably gonna need an extension, because they were due in March, and I have to wait for all the stuff to come in. And then I have to do something with all the data. You just send a notice, and I think that it might have to come from the selectmen, and then they send it to the state, and I've never seen it turned down.
I haven't seen any circumstance where town has requested an extension, loses its grants or anything like that, so. But we do have to request it.
Yep, Shane's already talked to me about it, but I haven't mentioned to him about the actual request that you have to do. That's it for tonight. Looks like this showing my slides as the PowerPoint is working better than trying to do it with the PowerPoint, so I'll do it this way in the future. They're all the same thing, but for some reason it seems to work better this way.
Just so you guys know, the Board of Selectmen meeting at 6 o'clock today, they formed a temporary, or they made a motion to form a temporary plan of conservation and development committee to assist with getting people to participate and getting information. So the selectmen's office is looking to put people together and assist with this process. And I believe Shannon has already started the extension.
So do you think he's gonna have whoever he rounds up come to these meetings, or they're gonna ask for other meetings?
I don't think they've gotten that far. It was just a motion to form it. He did mention that there were representatives from certain committees and commissions that should be part of it, and then members at large, so there's a list of people that should be involved. It's more to make sure that the information is getting to you to be in. So that's a problem.
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay. To our budget review and bills. I didn't see any bills. Other bills in it? Let's see any. Oh, I skipped one. Home occupations, if that, there we go. CEO report.
I don't have it in front of me, but there were only four permits issued for building last month. Two of which that also had to go through the wetlands process, the agricultural hay barn and the garage bay addition. Treehouse, I suggested a future preliminary discussion. If they want to try anything new, come and tell us about it, and work after they discuss it with the Department of Agriculture and their attorneys. Mr. Toutant, his engineer that he was filling the engineering associates, Norman Tebow, performed a location and topo survey last week. And I'm anticipating their site plan or drawing and some kind of report from them. We received one E&S bond, property on Pulpit Rock Road, the Christmas Tree Farm, beautiful location up on the hill. They were seeking their CO. And they still had some of the, they don't have grass yet, so now measured an area and received a bond. I think, can't remember what amount of square foot that 2,800 units, but the metric is 40 cents a square foot. And his only compliance letter for 23 Pine property off of Trip Road. They're condo apartments. I'd never known about them. They're kind of tucked away. They've been there a while. I think they were the subject of some news articles recently about out-of-state investors. I think cleaning them up, fixing them up, and making up the rents.
Like,
yeah.
What's no equities?
That's the company, they're out of Brooklyn, New York, that are the property owner. And they were requesting, there was a compliance letter for their property. It's not on the radar for any complaints, and it's existing use. It took 5 complaints over the past month, none of them were actionable. Throwing there in here, 3 of them were scenic road complaints. One was for activity on Old Hall Road, not Pulpit Rock. The other related to Joy Road. One in particular was a new driveway just past Dividend Road where cut off was for the scenic road, for Joy Road. The other was stone wall work and repair, which is way outside of town's right of way. The ordinance only applies to encroachment into the town right of way or activities in the town right of way. This was about 15 feet off of the property boundary. And it's fair game for improvement. We've had a lot of old permits that got stalled during the COVID era, that the states approved an extension of permits that were that hadn't been acted upon. So I've had some permits from like 2016, 2017. People never worked on them. They were still valid to a certain date. Like I think it was like June 2021. And they are extended. They have additional life by state statute. So some of these are cropping up. People are kind of wondering what's going on, especially anything around Bungie. There's one garage in particular that is just a few square feet underneath the house size. That Terry Bellman approved quite a while back. They're building this garage. I think they've at least gotten the foundation for that. The neighborhood concern is that this is going to turn into a business. The guy from the shop might move his shop to the house. That would become an enforcement issue, potentially special permitting issue. Bungie could be to approve. It'd be complex if this gentleman were to do that, but for now it's an approved garage, and I don't have any authority to unwind that. But I don't really know, Bungie had full comment on it back in the day, how that played out in the permitting office, but it's approved. We also had animal complaint on 197 over by the Thompson Town. One, it's over by Meadowside.
That's one.
Yeah, that's 197.
Okay. I don't think that there's any zoning necessarily to be involved in this, but the health district and NECOG wanted to go out. You got NECOG, the health district to go out. They wanted the town to accompany them. I think the gist of it is 5 steers and 3 calves on an acre and a half. And people share a driveway. There's some barbed wire. There's a lot of miscellaneous complaints that don't really have zoning regulation to apply to it. There could be concern about a well for a neighboring property. And the health district is looking into that. I think we're going to be rescheduling the NECOG, or at least having another conversation to talk about the animals. Business in the office hasn't slowed.
Question for you about, something about the lake. You said you don't know if they were part of the process.
Bungie, the
Right.
Bungie building. So generally, Bungie gives their endorsement to any kind of permit that activity that comes my way.
So just issue with that, but. When I was a zoning officer, it doesn't matter what they think about it, because. If it meets the range, you have no reason to turn it down if they're unhappy about it. Because I was appealed on that one. And. It had to do with how the lake didn't want someone to build a shed for the house. That's their rule. So zoning regulations allow you to have a shed. And their shed met all the setbacks, and so I approved it, and they appealed me to ZBA, and they would have no authority or reason to deny the person their shed.
Yeah, I agree. This typically comes up more often in wetlands when, we get at least one or two wetlands applications from the fungi. On a regular basis, and they're vigilant about those activities. And do provide comment to the Wetlands Commission, that the commission hears. And, if they're reasonable requests modification to some of these. If they aren't informed, that's when they wind up calling the office. And usually I tell everybody that comes in for a permit, check with your association. And I'll get an email from Jose Macho, who's their building chair. I'm sorry, their zoning chair. That says, oh, we're fine with this. But some of these older ones that people have forgotten about, that were approved back in the day, are sprouting up again, and people are wondering what's going on. Especially people new to the neighborhood that weren't part of the earlier process, but I agree. Their deed I don't enforce their deed covenants. I enforce our zoning regulations.
The Lake District, perhaps they have their own taxing district and their Fungi Lake Association. They could have stricter codes than the town. But that's what we heard during.
They can,
They
if
can.
they do it as their own association rules or
Right.
restrictions or whatever, that's not a town thing.
Correct.
If they wanted to, they could propose an amendment to zoning regulations where they could propose stricter standards. And then if it was approved through the amendment process, then it would become a zoning regulation that could be enforced.
Just using the shed as an example, our zoning regulations allow it, but they could, the Fungi Lake Association could have had their own description to say nothing bigger than X square feet. And even though it could have been allowed by our regulation, it would have been prohibited by their policy.
Right, and so if they wanted to make sure that it didn't happen, that would be their responsibility to do that. Like if the person did the thing in violation of their rule, they would have to take them to court. which would
Okay,
be a
all right.
municipal-
Just wanted to clear that up, that they could, the Fungi Lake Association, which is, would create stricter regulations than the towns.
Right, and it's all on them to enforce it and to
Sure.
follow through and to communicate it and all the other.
And I just had one other question. You, Dan, the Culvert Rock, what was the ENS bond for?
So that was a new home, new single
Oh, it
family
was a
home.
home that was on the top of the hill.
Yeah, they're seeking their CO, to move in, the ground cover was not fully established, and that's a condition of the CO.
So is this the release of the bond? or-
No, that was the
Release
receipt of the bond.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
The other commissions are working on some special projects. ZBA has just finished updating their materials. They got a few new members. We've been issuing materials. Looking to set up training. We've had some variance pre-application meetings. So last year was quiet on the variance front. Next year, you might see some variances on that. It's only Board of Appeals. We try to get people to work in the regulation as much as they can. And if they want what they want and they got a legitimate hardship, you have to go through this process and have it be heard by the commission, and whichever way the commission goes.
Have you had anything from the castle about their deed to be officially yet?
No. They've been off, besides some animal concerns and some strange inquiry related to temporary housing on the property. But there hasn't been any talk about Airbnb. I don't know if. Where was that at? I know John Guzikowski approved it.
The rumor mill, so I was curious.
I think John, with Tyke had approved, not an Airbnb, but a bed and
No, I
breakfast
know, an actual-
permit. So there's a Airbnb now.
No, an actual bed and breakfast. I was curious if you had put it for anything for that yet.
Yeah, Tyke, that came through, when Tyke was here. I think he was hamstrung to not approve it. But I don't really know his rationale.
I can perhaps contribute to that discussion. Chris Mark was denied a variance years ago to use it as an event hall or some other sort of a business because we have a maximum height on non-residential buildings. And so he was denied the variance and the bed and breakfast, when I heard that the proposal, it has to do with more than just bed and breakfast, it has to do with hosting events there. And so maybe that has something to do with it.
But, as far as I know, he's got an approved bed and breakfast that happened, prior to my watch. I don't know, how he's operating necessarily, I can kind of keep my ear to the ground on that one. Back to those, boards, Wetlands is working with the Eastern CT Conservation District and the Highway Department to, get this grant to identify best practices for dirt roads, stormwater runoff. Part of the conversation is creation of a test road to implement these best practices for, I think it's, modification of an existing stretch of road. The conversation has kind of been around Taylor Road and Pulpit Rock for some reason. I guess they're, these dirt roads wash a lot of sediment into vernal pools and the wetlands adjacent. And Laura Roby on our Conservation Commission, who also works for Eastern CT Conservation District, is working with Chan, Jason Scranton, and I, and the Wetlands Commission to get this kind of funding to do this kind of project and find a way to treat these town-wide issues economically, effectively. But we have, our dirt roads are far and away the bigger expense, and so this has to, we need to find a way to better manage that. Wetlands is also a very busy commission. This past decade, this has been the busiest year. This year, they reviewed, or I have reviewed with them 57 applications versus 28 last year. And they have 7 pending for their January meeting. One of which will be coming this way, subdivision application. Get my state highways mixed up tonight. 198 near the Southbridge border. K&M Villa Estate. I think they came through for a subdivision previously. They're proposing 5 lots. 3 of them have area in upland. There's also conservation area proposed. We just received this a couple of days ago, but this is going to be on the January 6th wetlands agenda and subsequently before you guys. But it's been busy. Just trying to find the best way to efficiently handle all this. The statutory obligations come first. Enforcement isn't a statutory obligation, so that's kind of why it gets kicked, down the road a little bit. The permitting pipeline, I think the state says must flow, and they understand that there could be multiple, all sorts of competing obligations that they cut some slack for CEOs related to enforcement. But that is a goal of mine to kind of get some things that have been mushrooming out of control a little bit. reined in. I think the work, that conversation we're having with Mr. Tuton about his airport, it's kind of one way to show we're looking at things a little bit and, look forward to, seeing some things turn around, and some stuff that's been growing for a little bit. But I'm happy to take any questions. You don't have them now, feel free to stop in the office. Or send an email or call. Happy to look into it.
I got a question on, Delia emailed me about the, motion we made that we did last meeting about the,
Gas station.
gas station and having that looked at by, what it's gonna cost them money. And I didn't know the ENS bond, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
ENS bond, so they have their CO, already, just the ENS bond is covering what, just the,
Unfinished improvement, while we're waiting to verify that the improvement is finished.
okay, so the CO covers everything else? Or, so, I mean, I'm just wondering. And I thought about this when I stopped in to buy a snack and a water the other day, is that fair? So deals that they have to charge, have him pay for a review that might not be called for in the regulation. And I discussed this with Joe earlier, we just wanna kind of make sure we're doing the right thing. How much it costs to have that review done. And just, when we have the as-bills compared, that they should probably be compared to the Mylar that's in the,
That they approved.
they approved the Mylar rather, because you have, we see multiple maps across, they're all different. So the as-bills should be matched up probably to the Mylar, right? I don't know your job, so that's been a discussion,
Yeah.
and I just think that we just need to, make sure that we're doing it right as we go forward. Not that it's wrong,
I
are
think,
we doing the right thing? I mean, how much does it cost to have that reviewed by, our,
so to answer that first. I've reached out to design professionals for a quote, about what the commission was requesting. I think it's holiday season for them.
Yeah.
I've been referred to their engineer and asked the questions, what do you need to do this and how much is this, so we can factor this into the release of the bond. I haven't gotten that quote yet. My research on others, I've seen from 150 to kind of review reports, all the way into the thousands, on some more complex applications. I estimate from the few that I've seen some prices in the 100, 200, 300, up to 500. That's where I think this would fall, probably on the lower end of that. But back to doing the right thing by our rules. It's, I think, within the commission's prerogative to do that. It's one of those things the commission may request X, Y, Z.
Okay.
It's not necessarily the commission shall request X, Y, Z.
When this CO inspection was done, that was the time when everything was supposed to be reviewed and compared back to the Mylar. The location of the building, the parking lot, the tanks, all those other things. When the zoning officer determined that everything was compliant and signed the CO, why would you come back later on and pay money to find out that you're in compliance?
I agree.
I don't think that it would be fair or ethical to require the applicant to pay hundreds of dollars to confirm that they're in compliance when it's already been determined they were in compliance.
At some level, to me, it looks like a shakedown.
What, we're looking at different plans, right? I mean, the erosion and soil control as built plan, that's all we're talking about, right? The drainage plan
The stabilization of the disturbed soil.
is the plan, the as-built plan.
The as-built shows you where things are on the property, where they were installed or constructed.
Okay. Or is it to confirm that the plantings are in place? Dan was talking about grasses growing, so none of that necessarily is available at the time of releasing COs for the owners to occupy the building.
But the zoning officer can go out to see that the site is stable. And if there's an erosion problem, like something washed away or whatever. Like, for instance, when Tufts University put their site in, they were supposed to have a rain garden. But the person that they hired didn't know what a rain garden was and thought that there was supposed to be a pool. So they compacted the bottom of the pool, and then all the plants, when it rained, they floated to the surface of the water because it's not supposed to be a pool. So that was an issue. That was not in compliance, so they had to reconstruct the rain garden. But if you, so Dan could go out to see whether the soil has been stabilized and if the grass is growing insufficiently. You don't need design professionals to tell you that.
And I guess what I'm trying to clarify is, what was the as-built plan showing as-built? I'm talking to Dan, the building or the drainage, the culverts and.
The as-built drawing most recently shown to the commission, submitted by Dan Flynn, the contractor, earlier this month, was an as-built for the basin.
The basin.
Yeah.
But it's part of the erosion and soil control.
So initially, that was like a $13,000 bond. Was it a $13,000
Yeah.
bond for grass or structures?
Well, there was an estimate that broke down into exactly what you, how that amount was derived.
So that basin wasn't ready at the time of the CO, I'm assuming, because the as-built plan wasn't submitted for the basin at the time of the
I
CO.
believe John Guskowski required the bond to be paid in full because the grass had not yet established. I know he required the bond from the gas station. It was part of the special permit approval.
Yeah.
Where it was
Okay.
pinned. I don't necessarily know why. I'm thinking it's because an aspect of the ENS situation was not in compliance at the time of the request of the CO.
Okay. So there was a specific approved drawing for the ENS plan? Presumably.
Presumably, yeah.
And Delia's nodding her head, yes. So there was a plan that design professionals that we approved at some point, right?
Yeah,
And the as-built, which came much later, is supposed to show what was built. And all I'm saying is that the as-built match the approved plan. And you
Sure.
can only tell that after it's done.
and that's why we should, the comparison should be with the Mylar,
Right.
which is the approved plan.
I don't see anything like going back on the, I don't see anything wrong going back to making sure we do this. And
So-
if it costs 200 or 500 for design professionals, that's just the cost of doing it. But as I discussed, it's only reviewing 2 drawings to see that they are close to each other or match. I'm okay with Dan thinking that one, if he's done.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of have looked at it and analyzed it and had my thoughts on it. But I should be doing the comparison to the Mylar, not the most recent as-built to the most recent as-built.
Oh, right.
You should be, your as-built should be compared to mine.
David. There are 2 different plans that the contract had to meet. Not just an ENS plan, but also a stormwater management plan.
Okay.
So both of those have to be met for the contract.
Yep.
And both of those should have been shown on the as-bills. In other words, was the size of the basin correct? Or the size of the pipes correct? Or the size of the catch basins correct? Was the top of the dike the correct width? Were the slopes on the dike correct? There's a lot of things that should be checked on the as-bills
Mhm.
versus the Mylar. Not just the seating, not just shrubs, bushes,
Which is why the bond was.
which is why the bond was so high. So you got those two things. So it's not just ENS.
Another problem is that we're going through multiple zoning enforcement.
Sure.
Officers. I mean, so there's no continuity with our zoning enforcement, like hopefully we're gonna establish now that we have a less decision. But, you know, maybe we should wait till we,
Get a quote.
get a quote from design professionals to see
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah, the communication has already started on that end. We haven't committed to anything, and I can share what that quote is with you
So we'll
before we
just
take future
Continue
action.
this discussion to when we get the quote in.
Yeah.
Proceed with them. Is that agreeable to everybody? Great.
Can we have Dan check the drawings then?
We can look at the, compare the as-bills to Mylar.
Yeah. Right, so then next time we meet, you can just tell us, hey, it's batch or there's difference.
And then, if there- I mean, I think it's more important, there's a difference when you have
Yeah.
design professionals to then say, hey, you know,
I did so. The Burnwitz, I comparing to the as-built that preceded the as-built, the Burnwitz lined up, the discrepancy, the only discrepancy, the inverts were matched. The only discrepancy I found was oversizing of the pipes from the most, it was depicted in the most recent as-built. I don't know. I don't have the engineering background to know, do the calculation that's an issue. Right? So I mean, I can make comparison and, you know, column A, column B, check. The hydrological understanding of things is kind of not my expertise. But as Joe said, I mean, it was about structure related, business there too with that, bond.
then we'll continue with that, with the next heading we're going.
Yeah, I'll do what Aaron suggested with the comparison to provide you guys. Design professional is probably gonna do the same thing, but more enlightened. But I'll do my work, inform you and inform you of the quote that they come back with.
Okay, great, thank you very much. Okay. Next, I guess, since the comments are here, we need to reschedule our January 2nd meeting to 7. No, the 9th, I'm sorry, the 9th. You have a conflict with the 2nd, right?
Well, I'm gonna be on vacation next week, so I won't have time to do anything for that meeting, you know,
That's the
so
planning meeting.
next. We cannot attend the January 16th meeting, you can still have the meeting without me, I just won't be able to attend.
Or camera on meeting.
Hope so, he couldn't make it tonight though.
Yeah, I know, but because does anybody know how to set up the owl?
Yeah.
Dan can do it.
Okay, I'm not kind of getting there, but I'm not.
Do I want to be here on the night?
Well, I could be.
No, I mean, I'm talking about. the
Oh,
16th.
I can administer that on the 16th.
Okay, I just wanted to. So, do we need a motion to move the meeting, or can we just make that as a? Is the 9th work for people? Is that a problem? See, you know,
I probably won't be able to attend. It's, cameras gonna be one bit. I make a motion to move the January 2nd meeting to January 9th.
I'll second it. Does that work for you, John? Did you hear that?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. Nobody else? Okay. So can we have
Need a second.
Huh?
No, made and seconded, that's all.
Yeah.
That's it.
Any more discussion? Not, all in favor?
Aye.
I,
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved.
Just remember that will then be a special meeting and you can only discuss what is the agenda. It should be specific to what you want to talk to, and you cannot deviate from it and not make a judge.
Okay, thank you. Well, careful.
Correct.
And something has to go to,
I'll send the town clerk a notice tomorrow that it's taking
okay, all right.
Okay, any citizens' comments? No. Thank you for coming.
And see what's going on out there.
Oh, no, that's great. We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
It's been a few years.
This was just, mostly our planning, regular meetings are.
No, this is a regular meeting.
It's a regular meeting.
That's not many kiss you the month over again.
Yeah. Regular meeting. Sorry. Our planning meeting is the first. Yeah, first. So. Either Mr. Young or Mr. Blackmer are here to, move to adjourn. Get a second?
Right.
All in favor?
I.
Okay, thank you, everybody. We'll see you on this night. Happy Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, and.
You too.
Oh, no. Okay. 0. 0. More regular than it used to. If you're not gonna- probably-
Oh, I'm not.
Yeah. When they be behind that.
Send it to you. Dan? The other document that has the maps and stuff. I didn't see that for the.
So the sidebar menu on the PZC page has links to the cover letter and the technical report. I'll send you that pretty quick when I get home. I saw my email.